I am Halli Casser-Jayne, and welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, where along with my partner in politics, veteran White House correspondent Matthew Cooper, we slice and dice all things politics, and some days, Donald Trump, too. On this episode of the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, it is January 15th, 2021, and it's our first show of the new year. And it's soon to be a new day for America. Out with the old, in with the new. In less than a week, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. will be sworn in as the 46th President of the United States, and we will have a new Vice President, her name, Kamala Harris. The future for America is promising, we hope. Matt and I will talk about that in the second half of the show. But up first, my first guest of the new year is Frank Figliuzzi. You all know Frank as the astute national security analyst for NBC News. Now, Frank is out with an important new book, The FBI Way. We begin. Donald Trump has been impeached for the second time. Unlike his first impeachment, this vote was bipartisan and important. At a time when the integrity of our leaders in government, business, law enforcement, even our religious institutions is being questioned, it's never been more urgent that we stand for the rule of law. More importantly, understand the principles of value-based performance. As the FBI's former head of counterintelligence, Frank Figliuzzi, a national security analyst for NBC News and a popular guest on MSNBC cable shows, served as special agent with the FBI for 25 years, rising to become assistant director charged with leading the Bureau's famed counterintelligence division. Figliuzzi held senior FBI leadership positions in major American cities and was appointed the FBI's chief inspector to oversee sensitive internal inquiries by then-Director Mueller. Now, drawing on his distinguished career, Figliuzzi reveals how the Bureau achieves its extraordinary track record of excellence in his new book, The FBI Way, Inside the Bureau's Code of Excellence, an eye-opening and sometimes brutally frank expose. Figliuzzi, unafraid to identify fellow agents who erred, including James Comey and Peter Strzok. Let's talk with Frank Figliuzzi. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Halli. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. You are somebody that I talk to all day on Twitter, but I really wanted to get you on the show. Boy, oh boy, you're
I hear every word.
Can you hear me?
Yes, no, I was joking that I can hear every word you say when you're talking to me on the television.
I'll bet you can, because I'm not talking. I'm screaming these days. Good Lord, we're in interesting times, aren't we? I'm fascinated. The timing on this book couldn't be better. How did you pull that off? I mean, that was just, the gods are with you. The FBI Way, Inside the Bureau's Code of Excellence, right? We've got a delay.
It's not that the gods are. I think the sad part of this is my book is in demand right now because we have a national crisis, and I wish it weren't so, but here we are.
We are definitely in a national crisis. My head's spinning. I'm sure yours is too. Everybody's are just going round and round and round. The last 24 hours just alone, right, is enough to put a person away. But this book, all of this has been a long time coming, Frank. So talk to me about why you decided that this book needed to be written now.
Yeah, I needed to write this book because I needed to convey to people that the FBI actually works at the highest level of excellence, especially when the stakes are the highest. And through 25 years in the organization, I not only observed how they do values-based excellence, but I absorbed it. I even led procedures and offices within the internal mechanisms of the FBI to preserve the core values of the organization and the nation. And the book says you don't have to spend 25 years inside the FBI. To learn this, you can get it through what I call the 7 C's of how the FBI does values-based leadership. The book is The FBI Way. It's currently just in releasing it in the last 48 hours. It's already in the top 10 new releases on Amazon and the top 50 books for sales in the nation. And I wish that it weren't because of the crisis we're in, but sadly, the messages of the book are more applicable than ever.
It tells me that despite all the horror that's going on in this country, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, and people who have definitely lost their way, and institutions that have been messed with by this president, if they haven't lost their own way. Fidelity, bravery, integrity, the motto of the FBI. I never really thought about it, FBI, before in those terms. Principles to which to live and operate. I think people are hungry for principle. I think people want good things. We seem to have lost our way, though, haven't we? Or a lot of us.
I think so. The book is about the intersection of values and leadership, two things that we've been sorely lacking the last 4 years, and that we're going to need more than ever in the days and weeks ahead. And so one of the themes in the book is how we can lose our way so quickly in terms of losing sight of our code. You know, the 7 C's and the 7 chapters in the book start with code. That means having core values. I think those people who breached the security at the Capitol January 6th, I think they've lost their way and kept their eyes off the code and the core values of what it means to be part of a democratic republic. The second chapter of the book, Halli, is conservancy, the concept that preserving values, whether you're on a Little League team, a classroom, a community, in a corporation, or in a country, preserving values is a team sport. We're all conservators of our values. And those people who entered that building on the Capitol that day, they weren't conservators of our values. They were operating by a different code, allegiance to a person, not to a constitution.
So listen to me. You're an FBI guy. Who knows character and personality better than you? That's what you spent all your adult life playing with. So talk to me about somebody like a Donald Trump. I mean, or his, MAGA, because that's all we can call these people now. Religious institutions standing behind him. Is there something perverse going on in the mental structure of America right now? It's not. It's pervasive. It concerns me.
Learned a number of lessons. Yeah, well, it concerns me too as a security professional who spent 25 years trying to identify a threat and counter it. And I'm here to tell you that what we've watched over the last 4 years is eerily similar to the radicalization process that I watched in terrorism investigations internationally. The kind of allegiance to a person, that the longing for a disenfranchised population to belong to something greater than themselves, and the willingness even to act against their own self-interest is part of a radicalization process. So, you know, when you talk about personalities and threats from people, this movement in this country is almost akin to an insurgency, a permanent insurgency in the country that's been fueled and amplified by the echo chamber of social media. And it's not, sadly, going to go away just because the president leaves office. In fact, you could make an argument that it may be further amplified by a former president who starts his own digital media platform and runs an extremist amplified echo chamber of his own. And then look at the anger that's already coming because of impeachment, because of an inauguration of a new president who many people think shouldn't be there because they bought into a fraud. And now you take them down from their social media sites like Twitter and Parler, and you send them into the dark recesses of the web. We've got a recipe for radicalization that's not going to go away.
I want to make this point. I'm curious as to what you think about it. I don't think this is new. He happened to come, Trump, sadly, got into power. We're going to talk about that in a minute, how that happened. But I think this has been a long time coming. Post-World War II, where people started to change how they lived, the value of how they lived, particularly in the last 40 years or so, with you got to do whatever you can do to be successful. Money is all. You can break the rules if it means you're going to get where you want to go. Everything that Trump stands for, by the way, I mean, he's the poster child for this. So I look at it with, here he is, but he is not new. he is just maybe the first one to get to the top of the heap to further say it is okay to live by the I'll do what I have to do, or the corporation doing what it has to do, corporation first, people second. Our parents didn't grow up that way, Frank.
Yeah, I share those concerns and observations, and I wonder if we are, you made reference to World War II. Look at the sacrifices that Americans made to get through World War II. We sent our sons, brothers, and fathers off to war. Women went to work in factories. We had victory gardens. We turned our power off. We rationed food and gasoline. And look at us today. We have a global, deadly pandemic virus, and we can't get people to wear a mask. I mean, really. People screamed that they couldn't get a haircut because of the virus. They couldn't go do that. They were outlawed from doing that. I think we've lost resilience, but there's a larger picture. As you say, we've lost our code. We've lost our concept of conserving our values, and we're operating by different values. And the values that caused people to vote for a billionaire television reality show host for president are the values that say the ends justify the means. Get rich like him, treat people like crap, and fire them every week on a TV show, and I want to be like that. So I think one of the things that surprised me is how quickly this all happened. Now, you've inserted the theory that maybe this wasn't so quick. Maybe it started many, many years ago with a loss of values, but I know this. It's being amplified by social media and the prevalence of unregulated social media, and we've stopped educating our children enough on what true American values and democracy look like, because it's clear to me from those people who entered that building on January 6th that they don't understand what American values are.
So let me take it here real quick, because we're really short on time, but this was a coup, an attempted coup. And I'm not sure it's over. I don't know. I'm curious whether you think the coup or the attempted coup is over, even if Biden is inaugurated.
I had hesitated to call it a coup because technically, we had a situation where a coup is typically someone else taking over from the person in power. But now it's clear that Joe Biden is moving into power and people want to remove him. So it is a coup. Let's call it what it is. Is it going to get over when Trump leaves office? Absolutely not. The social media is going to be there forever. He's going to be unchecked more than ever as an ex-president. We've got foreign powers like Russia and Iran and North Korea and China who want to see us go under, and will keep fueling it through social media bots and trolls and fake accounts. We've got a problem on our hands. We've got to stick to our code, be conservators of our values, act like we act in the FBI when we're under severe threat. That's the FBI way.
Okay, we talked about the people. As far as the FBI is concerned and all the hits it's taken, and Comey, and you're very honest about your opinions on that, and Peter Strzok and the whole 9 yards. At this point, it's almost the FBI has to save us in one way. Are you feeling good about what happens once he's out of office, that the values can be restored, things can get back on track?
No, I'm not overly confident. It's going to be a very slow process. And I have to tell you from a law enforcement perspective, and maybe I come on later and talk about the lack of legislation, the lack of investigative tools to deal with domestic terrorism. But we've got a permanent insurgency that's developing. And FBI agents tell me they still don't have the investigative tools that they would have against Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the international terrorism threat to get out in front of it, to get the wiretaps, to get the informants and undercover agents inside the private chats and web rooms and websites and groups and militias, because the law doesn't permit them to do it. We've got to wrestle with that immediately as a country. There are civil liberties and privacy concerns about doing that, but we got to figure this out, or we're going to be behind the curve on the next act of terrorism.
Worried about the 20th. We'll talk again, I hope, real soon. Thank you. Great book.
Thanks, Halli.
Talk soon. You too. Bye-bye. I've been speaking with Frank Figliuzzi. His new book is The FBI Way, Inside the Bureau's Code of Excellence. To purchase the book, visit Amazon.com and follow Frank on Twitter at FrankFigliuzzi1. You are listening to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts weekly at HalliCasser-Jayne.com, and it's available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to find us on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and on all your favorite apps. You can find the Halli Casser-Jayne Show on your Alexa device, too. Just say the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Oh, and come play with me on Twitter at Halli Show Quotes. It's Halli and Matt time. Here we go. Welcome back, Matt. It's been way too long, my friend.
It has, Halli. How are you?
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
And anything been happening in the news?
Have you ever in your life? But let me just say this. After all the crazy, right? You and I covering all this crap
after
over
a year of every show beginning with you saying, this is the craziest week ever.
Oh, my God.
New levels.
I'll tell you what. But we're back just in time for the Biden-Harris inauguration, right? And maybe, yes, Matt, the advent of a new day in America and the official ta-ta to Donald Trump. Anyway, I don't know. I'll give you this, though. Just before we went to broadcast, listen to this. Last Friday of Trump's presidency, his approval numbers finally in the final Pew poll down to 29%. Yikes.
So you're saying that's not great?
Well, I think considering that he hasn't been able to get down in the 20s, that is great. It should be 0, in my opinion, but welcome to the crazy world we live in.
Well, you know, there are a third of people who think, hey, it's all going fine. What's the big deal?
But let's start here, my friend. Is Trump, in your opinion, going to ride off into the sunset to enjoy the high life of Palm Beach, Florida? Or is Palm Beach, Florida about to become the capital of Trump's neo-Confederacy? What think you? And that's a legitimate question, by the way. No joke.
Do you mean is he going to raise an army from Mar-a-Lago?
I think partly that, and I'm wondering whether he's going to stay quiet. What do you think he's going to do?
Well, I don't know. I think I could see it going either way, right? I mean, he could just kind of, be quiet like he's mostly been over the last few days. I mean, he's spoken, but not, prolifically as he usually does. I could see him doing that, or I could see him, throwing a lot of tantrums. I do think having him off Twitter really does limit his ability to, rally the troops. I mean, until there's another forum with considerable reach, I think he's a little limited in what he can do. Even if he gets a show on Newsmax or something, that's not the same. So, I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's fascinating.
It's definitely fascinating.
It is fascinating for this reason also. You brought up Twitter, and we'll talk about that a little bit later with the future of all of this. But, before Trump, there wasn't Twitter and presidents. Fascinating. What was the forum they had? The TV? Radio? They lived and they got...
Generally, they chose silence, because there was norm, an ethic that you didn't sort of, get in the way of the new president, and you kind of kept quiet, and, you worked on your memoir, and you raised money for your library, and...
Well, I'm talking about even during the presidency. During a presidency, they didn't... Okay, folks, this is my new puppy, Matzo Ball. For those who don't know, I have him, and he has not learned yet that when I'm recording, he needs to be quiet. So there he is. Welcome to podcasting. Wait till you meet him, Matt. You're going to love the little guy. He's just adorable, but he's a pain in my butt. Anyway, no, I'm saying that before the Trump presidency, the option never was Twitter, because you didn't have it. So I'm just saying a Twitter presidency may be the last thing that we have under Trump.
Right.
And that's going to change things, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about there. But on the other hand, there are some things happening in Florida, which is why I brought up the capital of the Neo-Confederacy could very well turn out to be Palm Beach. And there's a lot of aligning going on between DeSantis and the Trump kids moving down here and all of that, that doesn't bode well for people who want a normal future for America. That's my point. It looks to me like they're setting up something down here, and DeSantis is holding his ground. He's one of the ones who's still out there talking about the election was stolen. He did it the other day in Texas. And, we've talked about DeSantis and COVID and doing all of Trump's bidding for him down here. I just see something not good percolating here in Florida, which may become the new Richmond, Virginia.
Well, do you think DeSantis, I mean, it's early to say, do you think he's on track to be reelected?
No, I don't. His poll numbers are hideous
So,
in Florida right now.
So how much juice does that really give,
Well, he has to go a different direction. I'm saying that all of these people who are sticking with Trump have got promises from Trump for a future for themselves, be it in a Trump he starts a new Twitter or whatever the hell it is that he's doing. But those who are sticking with him, and we're going to talk about the storming of the Capitol and the junta, if you will, or the coup. I think they're there, the Matt Gaetzes and things like people like that, and even Lindsey Graham at this point, because they've got something they're seeing in their future, because they're going nowhere in Congress. I think Congress is going to take care of them in a big bad way ultimately, but that's
by going nowhere. You mean just continuing to support Trump?
Well, they're going to lose committee assignments if not a Josh Hawley be expelled or any of these people who clearly were part of all of this nonsense that happened and continues to percolate under the radar right now on Capitol Hill. That's my thought. And we're not talking conspiracy anymore. Everything that people said were conspiracy theories, I think what happened in Washington tells us there were no conspiracies. These are really big, bad, thought. By the way, ABC is just reporting that longtime Trump ally, Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, I should say allies, and Michael Flynn all promoted the January 6th rally. They were very much behind it.
Well, sure, it was the president's rally.
Well, it's more than the rally. I'm talking about the storming of the...
Oh, you mean they coordinated the siege?
Yeah, Yeah. I have a show that I did. I can't remember the gentleman's name who wrote a book about Steve Bannon. And this is all in there in his book. I will get it and I will post it on the website or on Twitter for everybody to listen to. Also, the federal prosecutors on Thursday for the first time described last week's assault on the U.S. Capitol as a violent insurrection that attempted to overthrow the United States government. And one they consider, by the way, to still be underway, as Frank said in the earlier segment of today's show. Frank Figliuzzi, the FBI former director-ish. So my point being, Matt, we're not talking conspiracy theories. What everybody thought was ridiculous and insane has become truth. And so to say that he might be forming something crazy down here in Palm Beach doesn't seem insane anymore or conspiratorial or any of those things. This is who this guy is.
Right. No, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, because, I was always so cautious about, me and my big mouth. I didn't ever want to offend my friend Matt, who's so much more judicious about everything than I am. But you know what? I wasn't wrong. The Washington Post, they were out to capture and assassinate lawmakers, just posted. Coup or not coup, in your opinion?
It sure looked that way.
Is that a word that you use?
A coup attempt, sure. No, absolutely, coup.
And still going on. Because the one thing that Trump has not done up till now is concede. See, this is what I'm worried about, Matt. I'm worried this isn't over. In fact, I'm a wreck, and I've talked to a lot of friends who do what you and I do, who are all saying to me, I'm worried. Something scary is going to happen. My radar is up. How do you feel?
Well, there's certainly cause to have your radar up. I mean, I think with 20,000 troops in Washington, it's probably pretty secure at the moment. I do, about like an Anwar-Sadat type situation where your own troops just,
turn on you,
turn fire on you while you're in the reviewing stand.
So let me ask you this while you brought it up. There you are in Washington, D.C. How you feeling, buddy, when you walk down? This to me reminds me of El Salvador. What?
Well, I got to say where I live, and it's, only a couple of miles from the mall on the Capitol, the White House, it's totally quiet. I mean, you would have no idea any of this is going on. There's traffic, there's leafy streets. It's pretty normal for most of the Capitol. So, it's just, I think like everyone in the country, we're just, shocked by what happened. But
have you been over there? Have you gone over to the mall?
Down near the Capitol.
Have you gone over there?
I haven't walked down, no.
Yeah. Just watching it on TV is bizarre. This is America.
Yeah. Well, I think it's sort of crazy at this point to do on the Capitol steps. I mean, you got COVID, you got the security issues. No one's really in a mood to celebrate. I think you should just do a quick signing in on, swearing in on Pennsylvania Avenue and then, walk in the gate and go to work.
That's funny. I agree. I totally agree.
I don't think anyone's in the mood for brass bands and parades and trombones and Beyonce and Lady Gaga and television specials. It's just like, who's in the mood for that?
That part I don't mind because that can be done in a venue with cameras. That's fine.
Right.
Him putting himself out there in defiance. So male, by the way, so testosterone. But again, then the other side of it is he's waited his whole life for this moment, and I'm sure.
Well, sure, but we've had enough of ego trips. I mean,
Yeah, no,
it's gonna be weird anyway to have it out there and like no one on the mall applauding.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that, and
I'd say do a small. If I were Mr. Showrunner here, I'd scrap all this. I mean, although it's getting late, but I would scrap all this. Do a little, right on the sidewalk in front of Pennsylvania Avenue. Robert swear you in. You say a few remarks. Keep them very short, and just walk in and go to work.
Yeah, well, can you walk in, by the way?
Roosevelt got sworn in at the White House in 1945.
Yeah, right, exactly. But he was dying.
Because the war,
and he was dying.
Well, he was really sick, but also because the war, they didn't want to have a parade or do anything that looked, expensive. So he gave a very short address at the White House. And
there have been plenty of presidents who haven't been sworn there. So that in and of itself, I don't think is a problem. There's that side of it because of what you're saying, but there's the other side of it is, what about these riots? What about these rioters? And let's call them what they are. They're seditionists. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Whether he does it on the Capitol steps or wherever it is that going to stop them? That I don't know. But can I go back
20,000 troops will stop them.
That's hopefully, unless they're infiltrated.
I don't think. I mean, I think given the maze of barriers and stuff, nobody's getting very close to the action. I think the problem is just it's not befitting the mood. To me, it's not an issue of his safety. I think he's going to be okay. It's between COVID and the mood and what just happened. You got to do something different, and that's what I would do. I mean, I understand the other side. You don't want to look like you're caving to terrorists.
God, Matt,
I get it, but
can you believe we're talking about this like this? Can you believe we're having this conversation? Just that.
A little amazing.
Just that. Yeah, right? I mean, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, no.
I know. Yeah.
Did you even know there was such a thing as a Camp Auschwitz t-shirt?
Yeah, right. By God, crazy lunatics. What's behind all of this is so amazing. But I'm going to give you some good news, which is a very good friend of mine who was an absolute Trump maniac and refused to talk to me for a long time over this. Is not the first. Well, yeah, I guess maybe in a way he was the first, and a few have come who says I was right for 3 years and I was wrong, which destroys everything I ever thought about this man by the actions of the last year. And is just horrified. A really pro-Trumper. Absolutely.
Yeah, and this changed everything, huh?
Everything. Now, he gave me an argument for what's wrong with the Democratic Party. I didn't argue with him on it because I actually agree with him on that too. I'm an independent, but who leans Democratic. But it was so many people calling for a third party that is somewhere in the middle of all of the I worry about getting into a parliamentary system and whatever. But he is not alone. That's my point. There are a number of people who have kind of retracted from their position after what happened last week. So things move fast. I mean, we're all, this is why I began this conversation with what's he once he gets to Washington. I think like all, by the way, and we'll talk about corporate money in a second. I think he will retreat. I think he will retreat, at least for a little while. Because I think he's a bully. And I think how far does a bully go? A bully usually goes backwards. Corporations are doing what the Senate won't do, apparently.
Right.
Pulling all the money. And I think we need to talk about that because I find it incredible. The one company that I thought was really amazing, was the guy from Home Depot who was so radically Trump, right wing. Oh my God. And of course, even the, Koch brother, I think, the only one.
No one wants to be associated with this. Even if they're still right wing, it's just so bad for business to be anywhere near.
But it interests me that, and then let's talk what's going on in okay, now he was impeached, folks. We know that. We all know that. So we don't have to go over the impeachment thing that happened. I'll give it to Nancy on one thing. I still think she made some mistakes, but I'll give it to her on this. She took him out not once, but she took him down twice.
Yeah.
You got to applaud her for that. She was not letting him get the last word. I'm sure he's seething about that. But how they're handling this in the Senate. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about McConnell and his messages and the fact that his wife, who was in the cabinet, resigned. Talk to me about what you think about the Senate and Mitch McConnell, what he's playing, and your thoughts.
Well, it's hard to know his game short and long. I think he's trying to send a signal to Trump, just get out of town, without any more trouble. I might just endorse impeachment, because he's kind of walked up to it. So I think it's there's a little bit of brinksmanship going on here. I don't know what would happen in the Senate. It's going to be trialed, how the vote would go. At this point, you would have to say he's going to be acquitted, but I feel like that can change. A number of Republicans are already open to impeachment. And, if he's really unpopular in a few months, then maybe it'll move some more votes. But he remains so popular among Republicans that I tend to think they'll acquit him.
So there's a lot of talk this morning that they should not have a trial, because if he has a trial, the headline's going to be Trump acquitted again. You really have to think about that, because the other side of it is you can't let him just go gently into the good night. You can't. You cannot let him get away with what happened, because this is really, since the War of 1812, the worst thing that's happened to America, and maybe in presidential history. So what would be second to that? You can't leave it to the courts, in New York, Southern District to make this right. So there has to be something. Frankly, the word censure doesn't even become that. No. So what can they do?
Well, if they don't have an impeachment trial, I'm not sure what else they can do. I suppose the Biden Justice Department could pursue cases, but I don't think they would while impeachment is in abeyance. And then, as you said, all these state and municipal prosecutors could go after him. So that's a possibility. But, those are the guns you got.
I can't. They're clever. They're creative. I just can't. I just think it's really wrong to let him just get off with this. I mean, I understand it says he's impeached twice, but no.
I mean, the banks could do the biggest damage. They could really roll up,
Well, they do that. I'm talking about in a government.
Well, what else is
political sense? I don't know. I have to think about it, honestly.
The U.S. Justice Department, and there's state and local prosecutors. But, I mean, that's the legal system.
Well, here's the other part that we didn't bring in because you made some.
Unless you want to take them to The Hague.
I wouldn't mind that at all. But I'm going to say one thing that we didn't talk about, and that is the evidence of what really went on is just coming in now.
Yeah, I don't think we know, really.
So I'm curious to what happens if it gets really specific and it is legally tied back to Trump, in which case I don't see how even Republican senators can afford to vote not to convict. I think that becomes an issue.
I think you got to see what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and it doesn't look pretty. It looks uglier and uglier and uglier and uglier. And then if he goes ahead and he pardons Steve Bannon at this point, yikes.
Well, Steve Bannon would be being pardoned for the embezzlements.
Right.
Not for
no, I understand, but
sedition.
no, that I understand. But I'm saying if he starts to go, if he makes it, that's why. Everybody thought he was going to do a bunch of pardons yesterday to diffuse what happened.
Well, I think the one report is he's been convinced he can't pardon himself.
Right. That's good news.
And so that he's now in a foul mood where he doesn't want to pardon anyone.
Well, let's hold on to that, right? I'm just saying that the little steps he could take from here on in are exactly what Mitch McConnell is like daring him. Don't, go ahead and try it, Trump. And I will finish you off. That's what I'm hearing from McConnell, who, by the way, holds a lot of guilt in all of this because he let this go on for the last 4 years for his judges. What about Halli and Ted Cruz? I mean, these guys should be expelled. I think. You don't agree. No, go ahead.
I don't have a strong opinion about it. I don't think they will be. I mean, they're assholes.
Well,
they're unbelievable assholes. There's just no
super assholes.
Yeah, they're just super assholes. And Cruz is probably worse because he ought
to know better.
Trump insults his father and his wife. If you're from Texas and someone makes fun of your pappy, or my wife, you go to the mat. But he's just he's so craven. I don't know what's going to become them and whether this hurts their future prospects.
Halli's over. Halli's over. I think Halli's over.
Let's see.
And I think Cruz was over before he started.
Well, there's enough new blood conservative, types in the party that I don't.
How about your friend Liz Cheney?
I don't see him being your 2024 nominee, but who knows?
How about your friend Lynn Cheney? You and I had a giggle last week over
Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney. She looks so much like both of them, doesn't she? Her mother's hair.
Sure.
And her father's face.
Well, look, you gotta...
She shot Trump in the face, honey.
You gotta give her credit. I mean, she held her ground and...
we never thought, by the way,
and at some risk. I mean, I think she could get voted out of leadership. I don't think she will, but it's possible.
Well, Kevin McCarthy's standing up for her and saying she shouldn't be. That's interesting.
Yeah, but the Jim Gordons and nut jobs are all get her out.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know if the nut job. I think they serve into stability, so they probably won't knock her out.
We were on the same side as Liz Cheney, you and I, for the first time in our lives.
Well, this whole thing has, brought different people together, Never quite thought I'd see Bill Kristol and Al Sharpton, being with each other on TV all the time, but here we are.
Oh, my God. Some of these people, Matt, I just, these names, and Tom Cotton,
Well, he did the right thing.
Yeah, now he's saying, but you can't throw him out of office because he's not president. And, you know, I've listened to a lot of lawyers on this, and, you know, I want to keep saying this. He was impeached while he was president, and seeing an impeachment is a process, and the process was begun while he was president. That's the greatest argument for being able to hold the trial of a non-sitting president.
Yeah, I don't... I've seen those arguments. I just don't know.
Yeah. Jim Langford.
But look, you know, at this point...
Yeah.
Anything that's not completely seditious and craven is, you know, is welcome.
Oh, my God. We're so finished in this country if they don't clean this up, though. Jim Langford, I love this one, Oklahoma senator, for those who don't know, apologized to his black constituency for opposing election results. Oh, boy, Matt.
Langford?
Yeah, Langford.
Yeah, he was weird in this. He was always considered sort of a normal, and then he jumped in with the throw out the election crowd, and then he backed off that night after the shootings. I don't know.
I don't know what to make of any of these people. I tell you what, none of them should be in Congress. They really shouldn't. It's really scary. By the way, this Lauren Boebert, is that her name?
Yeah, she's sweet. She's nice. She seems nice. Her and the other cute lady.
I mean, and Florida. Oh, my God. These people are nuts. I think Murkowski should become a Democrat once and for all. That ought to really finish it all up.
Well, she'd be smart if she'd get in the majority. I don't know if she could survive in Alaska as a Democrat, but maybe.
I think that's her next move, and that would really make people crazy. All right, some names I want to throw out. Lindsey Graham is off the wall, so I'm wondering what's on that tape. That's all I'm going to say about Lindsey Graham. It's irrational at this point that he's flying around the country with the president. Absolutely irrational. And there's more to this story, and it's yet to come out. That's what I have to say on that. And let's table that. Murkowski, we talked about. Rudy Giuliani, no longer on Fox, by the way. Just disappeared off of Fox. Trump won't pay for his...
I guess there are these reports Trump won't pay him. Which...
He better pay him because there's nobody else going to want to represent him. I mean, he can't get anybody but lunatics. So you always stick with the lunatic who knows him. I know, just Rudy Giuliani's going to jail. That's my guess. Can we talk about Melania Trump for a second? Because I do think it's well worth a conversation. You know, everybody hemmed and hawed about who she was and what she was about all during the administration, you know, and at the end of the day, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't think she's just whatever Donald tell her to say, she says, because she doesn't care. I find it absolutely incredible. This is a woman who was not born in this country and became a citizen and from a communist country. Her father was in the Communist Party, who doesn't get what's going on. She won't even welcome Jill Biden, which, you know, Trump doesn't have class, but does she have to go along with him? The most ineffectual first lady in the history of the United States, as far as I'm concerned. And I just wanted to say that because she's a disgrace to everything that America is. You probably don't want to say anything like that, but I'm going to say it.
Well,
And is she leaving when he has no money left?
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought it was a bit much to expect her to break from her husband. I mean, Pat Nixon didn't break from Richard Nixon.
No, but Pat Nixon did take on the role of First Lady.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, Melania's, Melania's taking cyberbullying as her cause was particularly delicious. And of course, she fucked up the Rose Garden, so there's that. And
she wore a shirt, the jacket, I don't care.
Right. Which could be read so many ways. You know.
Well, I just don't.
By all accounts, she spent a lot of time with her parents in Potomac and, you know, with Barron.
Well, I just didn't want to let her get away with it. That's why I felt she needed to be talked about. She needs to have her place, her lousy place in history, too. That's why I wanted to bring her up. She just, all right, let's go to Biden. $1.9 trillion relief package for COVID and a $2,000 relief. He still looks tired and he still looks weak and maybe too earnest when he speaks about uniting. But on the agenda, talking policy for the first time in years. And that's delicious to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's, look, he's playing within the, parameters of today's Democratic Party, and it's responsive to the crisis at hand. And, it was all, welcome normalcy, It was a normal speech he gave last night, and it's kind of a normal proposal. I don't know what its chances are of passage, but I imagine pretty good. And, we'll just have to see. But he's definitely, we're kind of getting back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be nice to be able to talk policy and not personality. Yeah. How joyous that will be. COVID. Jeez, Matt.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's really bad.
How are you doing down there in Florida?
Oh, sweetie, it's so sad. You just
in lockdown?
Of course.
Are you in lockdown?
I'm really in lockdown. My doctor just said I don't even think anybody should be going to supermarkets at this point. That's how bad it is. 400,000 dead today, nearly 400,000 dead today. And now Trump's own CDC is predicting 90,000 dead in the next 3 weeks. Florida, you asked, it's a red zone. Actually, I don't know how they call it a red zone. It's got the highest numbers it's had since this whole thing began. Double what it was the worst in the summer, by the way. Right. No way to get a vaccine unless you're willing to stand on a line or for 30 hours, which this lady isn't willing to do. You can't get to your doctor's offices. I don't know whether you've tried to reach yours in Washington, but I'll tell you can't do it here because so many people are calling into the doctor's office to say, how do I do this? Where do I go? There's no information for me to know what to do. And now the doctor's offices just can't even answer the phone calls. I spoke to people at Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, and they are fit to be tied by what's going on.
Yeah.
Themselves, and they're working to figure out a way to, it's become dangerous if you can't reach your doctor and you can't call the hospital. That's the danger zone we're in down here in Florida.
Yeah.
And on top gets this massive donation from Publix supermarket, which is our main supermarket down here, a couple of weeks ago, a massive, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then announced that was going to be their prime distribution center for the vaccine. Of course, there are no vaccines available. That being said, how do you do that in Publix? Publix is not a pharmacy. So it's a mess, and it's not getting any better. Are you staying? Yeah. Are you staying home?
Well, I have been going to the grocery store a bit, and I'll probably cut that back. But nothing else really. I mean, just taking walks, and I haven't been to a restaurant,
right? Right, because it's too scary. Yeah, it's just too scary.
Yeah.
But here's something that's very interesting to me. Israel leads the world in vaccinations and could be done by the spring. Suppose they call Israel and ask them how they did it in this country. Anybody? Somebody knows how to do it. Anybody? Yeah, right? Don't want to take, don't take any, information from those Jews over there. I mean, seriously, we now know how to do it. We know it can work. And yet, that's all that they talk about. They're still, we'll figure this out. We'll figure it out. Right. Yeah. No, that makes me a little crazy. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey pulled the plug on Trump. We do need to talk about that. We need to talk about the fact that Fox News is coming in third on viewership. CNN first. Other social media sites also have shut down Trump. I don't think this is something that they shut down. They took my Twitter account away, and there's no way to reach them until I write a letter. I need to write a letter because I don't even know why that happened, but it was just some fluky thing that they do. But Dorsey yesterday was like, well, I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it, and we shouldn't do that kind of thing.
Right. Sure.
But that brings me to the press, of which you are a member of. You run
Last I checked.
You run a terrific website, Washington Monthly, one of my favorites, one of my sources. Such a good writer you are. Such a good mind.
You're kind.
I am, aren't I? How does the press move forward?
Well, I think the question is, will they go back to old habits of, both siderism and, I think they eventually responded well to the Trump challenge, but it took a while, and I just wonder if they go back to sort of, on one hand, on the other. I don't know. I think they need to keep their edge, even in a post-Trump world.
What does that mean, to keep their edge? What does that mean?
Well, I think they need to. I think they eventually became more willing to use the word lie and not do one hand on the other hand journalism, but to make calls about what's true and not true.
Not be afraid of the president.
Don't be afraid of the president. Don't be afraid of Republicans.
Right.
Don't be cowed. And I think they eventually got there for the most part. I think it took a while. And I hope they keep that, I certainly hope the TV networks never give free airtime to one demagogue.
Again.
In a presidential race the way they did in 2016.
Yeah, it's something that I wrote about last week was that I'm so tired of turning on the Sunday shows and the same people, or even the cable news shows all week long.
Yes.
The same senators, the same representatives. They got to stop that. What is that?
That has always been a lacking indicator. Well, they have the ones that they're used to, and the ones they think are good TV, and the ones who are quick to volunteer, and so they end up with Lindsey Graham all the time, and idiots like Ron Johnson. And,
they got to stop. If they do nothing
there are
else.
100 senators. Never have Cantwell or.
No, I agree. This is my argument. I find it just absolutely a disgrace. So hopefully they've learned their lessons too, and they're not going to play favorites games. That we'll see. I'm going to miss. CNN has what's his name? The White House correspondent, Jim
Acosta.
He's gone. He scooped more people on stories than any of them. God bless him. He's gone. So, but I hope they learned their lesson. All of this, I doubt that they did, but I hope that they did. And I'm tired of looking at the lunatics. So I hope they start bringing in some good brains with their heads on their shoulders where they're supposed to be. And nobody make me happier than watching Fox News go to hell in a handbasket. By the way, I watched Tucker Carlson. I always do that for you because I know you watch it, and you're right. I should watch that more than just not keep watching the same old talking heads. But it's unwatchable. He doesn't even make sense when he speaks. He just rants, and there's no cohesiveness to anything that he says, nor reality. And certainly not with Hannity. And Laura Ingraham is getting weirder by the minute. So, goodbye, Fox. That's the best thing that could happen. Maybe they'll get smart
start
too.
Watching Newsmax.
Mark Halperin's on Newsmax.
That's it's an amazing development.
No, oh my God. So here we go. Shots of Trumpsters working in the White House, walking out with artwork.
Right. Yeah, well,
Jeez.
They're going to walk off with the John Singer Sargents and the Churchill busts. And
they got it on videotape, for God's sakes. Stop alluding. But grifters grift. None of those people are going to be able to get jobs. That's why they're taking the rich stuff so they can sell off, because who's hiring? I don't see them having great political futures unless it's, because I don't even think the Republican Party is going to be the same. And we can talk about that another time when all of this is said and done. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to say the future of the kids, Ivanka Jr., who are also coming into Florida, by the way.
Well, as we wind down, I think, I don't know. They're young. They got a long life ahead of them. there's no coming back in New York.
No, they're not coming to New York.
All this.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go back to New York.
Junior was, what's your name?
I think Don Jr., you got to love Don Jr.
Why?
I'm joking.
He creeps me out. Oh, my God.
Kimberly
was seen in Palm Beach yesterday, house hunting, by the way.
There's the fun lady.
Gavin Newsom, what were you thinking?
It's an amazing moment.
Right? So I wanted to talk about that, but I wanted to end on Trump this morning. I want a goodbye crowd on the White House lawn when I depart.
Well, I'm sure he can get somebody.
Oh, my God. He makes Nixon look like Nixon did nothing wrong. And that's hard.
Yeah, I know. I have to go back and read the final days.
Yeah. So, but as we close down, leave us with your parting thoughts for the week. What should we be looking for? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I hopefully a happy inaugural and a continued prosecution of the insurrectionists and a normal start to the Biden presidency.
I just want everybody to stay healthy, stay home.
Yes.
Because and wear your damn masks if you do have to go out.
Wear the damn mask.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, buddy, that's it.
You stay safe.
You stay safer. Thank you for tuning in to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, a production of Resec LLC. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is available at HalliCasser-Jayne.com and on all your favorite apps. Be sure to visit us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at The Halli CJ Show. Until next time, this is Halli Casser-Jayne.